For the first time in Northern Ireland, the Domestic Abuse and Civil Proceedings Act Northern Ireland 2021 criminalises domestic abuse, which is perpetrated by engaging in a course of abusive behaviour. Under Section 1 of the Act, a person commits an offence if they engage in a course of behaviour on at least 2 occasions which is abusive of another person they are personally connected to at the time. For the domestic abuse offence to be committed, it is necessary for a number of conditions to be met. A reasonable person would consider the course of behaviour to be likely to cause the victim physical or psychological harm, and that the person intended by the course of their behaviour to cause the victim to suffer physical or psychological harm, or is reckless as to whether the course of behaviour causes the victim to suffer physical or psychological harm. What is a course of behaviour? A course of behaviour must include at least 2 occasions. The behaviours do not need to be the same on the 2 or more occasions, but they must meet the definition of abusive behaviour. The purpose of the abusive behaviour is to have one or more of the following relevant effects on the victim: making the victim dependent on the abuser, isolating them from controlling, regulating or monitoring their day-to-day activities, depriving or restricting their freedom of action, or making them feel frightened, humiliated, degraded, punished or intimidated. How can you be personally connected to someone? The domestic abuse offence covers not only an intimate relationship, but also covers familial abuse, such as abuse of parents or grandparents, as well as abuse of close family members more generally. It includes those who are or have been married, are or have been in a civil partnership, live together or have lived together as if they were married or in a civil partnership, are or have been in an intimate relationship. And this is intended to cover relationships between 2 individuals, including young, teenage and same-sex relationships, although the relationship need not be sexual nor long-term, or they are family members. Let's summarise the key points of the offence. A person commits an offence if they engage in a course of behaviour which is abusive of another person, the offender and victim are personally connected to each other at the time, a reasonable person would consider the course of behaviour would be likely to cause the victim physical or psychological harm, and the offender intended the course of behaviour to cause the victim to suffer physical or psychological harm, or is reckless as to whether the course of behaviour causes the victim to suffer physical or psychological harm.